There's a certain kind of person who can solve almost any problem you hand them except the one running inside their own head. They notice everything. The flaw in the plan, the lie behind the smile, the 3 steps ahead that nobody else saw coming. And most people look at someone like that and think the same thing. Must be nice, must be easy, being that smart. But here's what almost no one understands. High intelligence isn't a shortcut through life. For a lot of people, it's the quiet thing making life harder. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 8 hidden struggles that come with a sharp mind and why the very thing people envy in you might be the reason you've always felt a little out of step with the world. This person isn't rare to one place or one time. You'll find them in every classroom, every office, every family. The kid who finished the test first and then sat there, restless. The coworker who sees the problem 6 months before it happens. The friend who goes quiet in a loud room. You know them by their behavior, not their IQ score. They ask the question no one wanted asked. They get bored fast and bored often. They lie awake replaying a conversation from 9 years ago. Psychologists have studied this overlap between high intelligence and inner difficulty for decades, and the findings are surprisingly consistent. A bright mind comes with a bright mind's problems. So we're going to walk through 8 of them. Not to complain, but so that if this is you, you finally have the language for something you've felt your whole life. Let's start with the one almost everyone gets wrong. Smart people don't overthink because they're broken. They overthink because they see more. Psychologist Alexander Penny found something striking. People with higher verbal intelligence actually reported more worry and rumination, not less. The sharper the mind, the more scenarios it can generate, so a simple decision quietly explodes into 20 branching outcomes. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it's built to do: find patterns, run simulations, predict. So if you've ever been called too much in your head, understand what's really happening. You're not weak. You're running a faster engine on a road that has no speed limit. But seeing more comes with a cost. Most people never connect to intelligence at all. And that's number 2. Here's a quiet kind of pain. The better you can imagine something, the harder it is to be satisfied with the real thing. Psychologist Barry Schwartz described 2 types of people: satisficers, who feel good once something is good enough, and maximizers, who keep searching for the best possible option. Highly intelligent people tend to be maximizers. They can picture the perfect version so vividly that reality always arrives looking a little disappointing by comparison. So you finish the project, win the thing, hit the goal, and feel almost nothing. Not because you're ungrateful, because your mind already sketched something better the moment you got close. And that gap between what you see and what others see, it shapes how people treat you. Which brings us to number 3. This one stings, because it's rarely your fault. When you understand something deeply, it becomes hard to remember what it felt like not to know it. Psychologists call this the curse of knowledge. Once an idea is obvious to you, you genuinely can't unsee it, so when you explain it, you skip the steps that feel too basic, and it lands as impatient or condescending. You weren't talking down to anyone. You just forgot how far ahead you'd already walked. So if people have called you intimidating, or a lot, or assumed you think you're better than them, it may not be your attitude at all. It might just be the distance between what's obvious to you and what's obvious to everyone else. And here's where others misread you completely. Number 4, intelligent people don't avoid work because they're lazy. They shut down when work doesn't engage them. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist who defined the concept of flow, found that we're most alive when a challenge perfectly matches our skill. But when the challenge is too low for the mind doing it, you don't get calm. You get restless, foggy, almost physically uncomfortable. A bright brain starved of stimulation will stall out completely on something a less complex mind finds perfectly fine. So the underachiever label that follows so many smart people, it's often the opposite of the truth. They're not incapable. They're under-challenged and dying for something that finally feels worth the horsepower. If you're the kind of person who actually thinks about why you are the way you are, not just what you do, but what's happening underneath, and you've made it this far, that already tells me something about you. It would mean a lot if you hit subscribe. We put out videos like this every week, real psychology, explained in a way that finally makes sense. Now the second half is where it gets heavier. Here's the part that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. The smarter you are, the harder it can be to feel truly understood. Researchers Satoshi Kanazawa and Norman Lee found that highly intelligent people actually reported lower life satisfaction the more they socialized, almost the reverse of everyone else. It's not that they dislike people, it's that surface conversation drains them, and the depth they crave is rare and hard to find. So, they end up surrounded and still alone. If you've ever sat in a full room and felt like a stranger, you're not cold and you're not arrogant. You're just built for a depth most rooms don't offer. But loneliness isn't the heaviest cost. The next one lives inside your own mind. The same brain that solves everything also won't let anything go. Psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema spent her career studying rumination, the habit of replaying problems on a loop instead of releasing them. And the more processing power you have, the more fuel that loop gets. The mistake from last week, the awkward sentence from last year, your mind keeps reopening the file, looking for an answer that closure already gave it. So the gift becomes the trap. The same intensity that makes you brilliant in the day makes you sleepless at night. And almost no one around you can see that the smartest person they know is quietly exhausted. But why does this happen at all? That's number 7, and it goes all the way back. This is the root underneath all of it. For most highly intelligent people, the wiring showed up early, and so did the pressure. Polish psychiatrist Kazimierz Dabrowski described what he called overexcitabilities, an intense, almost amplified way of experiencing thoughts, emotions, and the world, common in gifted minds. These kids feel everything louder, and very often they get rewarded for one thing only, being smart. So their whole identity quietly fuses to it. Being the bright one stops being a trait and becomes the job. So if you've spent your life terrified of failing, of not being impressive, understand it isn't vanity. It's a child who learned that their value and their intelligence were the same thing, and was never told otherwise. Which brings us to the last one, and honestly, the most important. Here's the turn. Every struggle on this list is just a strength that hasn't been pointed in the right direction yet. Carl Jung believed real maturity wasn't about cutting off the difficult parts of yourself. It was about integrating them. The overthinking becomes foresight. The restlessness becomes drive. The depth that made you lonely becomes the exact thing that lets you understand people no one else can reach. The mind stops being a storm you survive and becomes a tool you finally know how to hold. So the work was never to be less intelligent. It was to stop apologizing for it and start aiming it. So the next time you feel out of step, too deep, too much, too far inside your own head, you'll know what you're actually looking at. You're looking at a mind that sees more and therefore carries more. Someone who was handed a powerful instrument as a child and expected to play it perfectly before anyone showed them how. Someone whose loneliness was never coldness, it was just depth waiting for somewhere to land. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're built for a kind of thinking the world quietly runs on, even when it doesn't know how to thank you for it. And once you stop fighting that mind and start working with it, that's when the struggle finally becomes the gift. If this one hit close, I made a video on why deep thinkers feel so alone in a world built for small talk. It's right here when you're ready.